All right, the Didario demo drama continues to unfold. It's the gift that keeps on giving, isn't it? Um, who would have thought you could get so much fun out of a set of strings and a demo? Anyway, if you're not familiar with what's been going on with this, Didario have brought out a new range of strings called the MYXLHD strings for six string guitars, seven, eight, and nine string guitars. Yes, indeed. If you're a guitarist of my generation, these things do exist. Um, and they did a demo for it, right? No great surprises there, except that when the demo came out, a lot of guitar players listened to it and said, "This sounds awfully like it was produced by AI. And if this is supposed to be a demo track for a new set of strings, why are you using AI? Why aren't you actually playing, a guitar with these strings on it?" And um, this led to D'Addario putting out a statement, and they said it's not created by AI. It's all the guitars are genuinely tracked, and it was overproduced. Okay, so that's why it sounds like it was AI. It was just overproduced. But a lot of people didn't really quite buy this. There were comments continuing to be posted, and D'Addario started just deleting these comments and blocked some users who were posting stuff that was critical. So they just seemed to want to make it go away, which I think it probably would have done, to be fair, if they just kind of left it at that. Except they didn't, did they? They went and produced a video, or released a video of a Logic session, which actually shows the guitar tracks. So they said, here it is, here's the actual video of the recording session in Logic to show you that it was all done properly. Except people discovered that it wasn't the same track. KDH, Danny Sapko, various people have gone in and analysed these two recordings, the original demo and the Logic Pro session, and overlaid the two, and they don't match up. They start out the same, but after a little while, the timings start to wander, the pitch starts to wander. There's sections where there's some of the chugs don't actually match up. There's different numbers of chugs in between some of the notes, um, and the two recordings just don't line up. So again, this led to people questioning why the Logic Pro session didn't match up with the original recording. And that led to some people saying, is this a cover up? Is this basically D'Addario have been found out for putting out an AI track, and they're now attempting to produce evidence that this is actually a real recording by sort of post facto recording a Logic Pro session of the same music? This was just a theory that people were putting around. Anyway, D'Addario then came out with another statement where they said the reason that this Logic Pro track didn't line up with the original demo is because it had been very heavily produced. Right, so they said enormous amounts of production have been done, pitch correction, AI-assisted mixing, mastering tools such as Logic and LANDR. I hadn't heard of that one either, and that's why, which again, a lot of people, again, guitarists, basically said, look, that doesn't explain it, because you can make a track sound completely different by using plugins and lots of production and so on, but it doesn't explain why the pitch would be wandering, why the timing would be drifting. That's not something that you would get by using these tools. And it kind of sounded like somebody using a load of techno babble to sort of, explain something away. Then there's more. Rhett Shull on his YouTube channel gets hold of the actual Logic files directly from D'Addario. And so he goes through and actually, sorry, I've got kittens going mad and destroying the house. Never mind. So Rhett Shull, yes, gets hold of the actual files, analyzes them, and he's giving Didario quite a bit of benefit of the doubt with this. But he comes to the conclusion that Suno was involved in the production of this original demo track, and he suggests that an original human recording was fed into Suno, and Suno then regenerated the human recording into an AI track, right? And then Didario investigates yet again and says, yes, actually, on August 10th, which is a few days ago, they say that the Suno track, Suno Studio, was actually used to regenerate the original track. And it apologises for previously sharing inaccurate information, as in having said that no AI technology was involved at all. It turns out this is actually an AI track. It doesn't say that somebody generated the track from scratch with Studio. It says that there was an original track which Suno subsequently regenerated. Okay, and they also say they didn't know this had happened, that they have been given false information about the origin of the track. So, the official explanation and Rhett Shull's analysis is that originally a human being recorded a track using logic with the Didario strings that were being demoed. They then produced this track very heavily using all kinds of plugins and AI mixing tools to produce a finished Logic Pro track, which they then fed into Suno Studio in order to regenerate it as an AI track that was then supplied to Didario, who weren't told that it was actually an AI regenerated track, and then put it out as a product demo track. Right. And it has to be said, Didario have also said that there is now a new requirement that employees and creative partners disclose any generative AI use, and that a failure of disclosure control somewhere in the production chain was the reason that this happened. So it's a bit of a big stretch, I think, to suggest that somebody would take the time and trouble to record a string demo which has synthesizers, all kinds of other instruments programmed into it that they've then spent presumably a huge amount of time producing using all kinds of compression, plugins, AI mixing tools, and then they don't use that track. I mean, you spend a huge amount of time generating this track in Logic Pro, and then instead of using that track, you go, no, actually what I'm going to do is shove it through Suno Studio and regenerate it as an AI track. Why would you do that? You know, especially when you know this is a demo track for some guitar strings. So people want to actually hear the strings that you're trying to sell them in the demo. They don't want to hear an AI generated guitar that's got no strings where there's no guitar and there's no human being playing it, right? It seems very hard to see why somebody would do that, which is why a lot of people are suggesting that the chronology is actually not quite as suggested, that actually what happened was the Suno Studio version was produced first, given to Didario, who weren't told that it was an AI produced track, put it out believing it to be genuine, and then when they were called out on it, had a Logic Pro session supplied to them as evidence that this was a real track, and then had to produce subsequent explanations as to why the Logic Pro session didn't actually work because it didn't match up, which does kind of lead you a little bit to the conclusion that maybe, because I don't believe that this is something that was done at by Didario at corporate level. I think when they say they didn't know that this was an AI track when they put it out. I'm inclined to believe them because why would they? This is a company with a big reputation to defend. Why would they knowingly put out a piece of AI created music as a demo of their strings? When they're a company who've got a reputation to defend, they've got a lot of followers, and to do something like that, to knowingly mislead people by putting out a piece of music and saying, well, these are our new strings, and actually, no, it's not your new strings, it's just a bit of AI slop that somebody's created in Suno Studio, is very damaging for Daddario to do. So there's no real reason for them to do that, which does lead me to the conclusion that somebody, I think we're told it was a Daddario employee, was tasked with creating a demo track, basically decided that they could either use the time they've been allocated, however many a day or however many days they've been given to create it, to actually sit in a studio creating the track, or they could just bang it out in Suno Studio in 20 minutes and nobody would know the difference, and then got found out on it, had to then subsequently create the track in Logic and try to recreate the Suno track in Logic to sort of retrospectively explain that no, they had really recorded it, and then had to come up with further explanations as to why the track didn't actually match up with the Suno track, and the final sort of straw to be clutched at was actually an AI regen of the original human track. I mean, I don't know. This is only a theory. It's something that's obviously doing the rounds at the minute. The only way, really, that I can see that it's going to get settled is if the timestamps for the recordings themselves are made available, because that would pretty much settle it, really, wouldn't it? I mean, if the Logic Pro sessions are actually shown as having been recorded before the product demo was released, then that lines up with what Daddario is saying, and I have to pretty much accept that as being the factually correct version. But if it turns out it's the other way around, and the Suno recording Suno generated AI track is generated before the Logic Pro sessions, and the Logic Pro sessions are actually recorded after the demo track came out, then again, it's pretty much slam dunk, isn't it, that this is a post facto attempt to explain away the AI track. Whether we will ever get those timestamps, I don't know. I mean, Rhett Shah obviously had the actual Logic Pro files, didn't he? Now, I mean, he's analysed the tracks, but I've not found anything anywhere to say that he looked at the timestamps for the tracks, so I don't know if he has access to that or not. But if he does, I mean, that would be a pretty conclusive bit of evidence to settle this one way or the other, so I'd certainly be interested to know. I'm guessing maybe you would too. So anyway, I somehow suspect we haven't heard the last of this. I think there's probably a few more little twists and turns in this yet to come. So anyway, that's the latest on that little episode of Colombo, which is what turning out to be. And yeah, let's wait and see, shall we, what happens. And if you've got any comments on it, stick them in the comment section below. If you find these little talking head videos of mine of any interest and you like them, please chuck me a like and a subscribe, because it does really make a difference with these. So anyway, that's it. Next one's coming up soon.